You know that feeling when a company takes an already great product and somehow finds a way to shave milliseconds off just to prove a point? That's exactly what Razer just did with the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K, a keyboard that basically tells your PC you're the bottleneck now. And while there's both a full-sized and a 10 keyless version, this review is all about the TKL, the esports favorite, and because I'm not a savage, and because if something's gotta go, it's gotta be the numpad, not your reaction time. So the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K isn't a full redesign. In fact, if you are familiar with the previous model of the line, a lot will be extremely similar. It's an evolution of what was already Razer's most advanced keyboard. But that new 8000 Hz hyper pooling changes everything. We're talking 0.58 milliseconds of response time. That's nearly 3 times faster than the previous model and about 11% quicker than any competitor to date. But does that actually matter for gaming, or is it just marketing jibber jabber? Let's dive in. The star of the show remains the Razer Analog Optical Switch Gen 2. As I understand, they've been made smoother and pre-lubed for the best possible feel and precision. And now's the time to address a few things. I was honest with Razer when they offered to send me that keyboard for review, which is that as much as I have many Razer devices that I use on a regular basis, a keyboard was never one of them. Razer said no problem, just give us your honest thoughts. And so for the better part of almost a month now, I've been daily driving this Ferrari of a keyboard, which by the way, thanks to Razer for sending it for review, and only my honest thoughts as promised. But my point is also that I don't have a Razer point of comparison, so I'll focus this review on speaking about my experience, and let this be said, this is without the shadow of a doubt the best keyboard I've used to date. Back to specs though, it's still rated for 100 million keystrokes, but what sets it apart is how adjustable those keystrokes are. Anywhere between 0.1 millimeter and 4.0 millimeter actuation. That is insane control. And if somehow you can game at 0.1 millimeters, I may need you to upload your skills to the cloud so I can download a copy and upload it to myself.
Skills are in the cloud. Now I can game like me, anywhere.
Anything that is more than heavy breathing on your keys will actuate the dang thing. It's so sensitive. But the reality is that it is just about as much about needing it as it is about having the flexibility of choosing to train with that kind of responsiveness. And thanks to the optical switches, there's zero the bounce delay, meaning that every key registers exactly when it should, every time. You're more likely to be hindered by the animation of a game than you are by the keyboard, so better pick the right titles to take full advantage of the Huntsman. Now let's talk about rapid trigger mode, and this is where the magic happens, specifically for FPS players. The faster you can reset your movement key, the faster your hitbox tightens. And so in layman's terms, it means that you shoot straighter and faster. And traditional mechanical switches have to release completely before resetting. With rapid trigger on, the switch resets dynamically. Even a 0.1 millimeter lift can trigger it. So strafing, counter strafing, micro adjusting your movements happen faster than you can blink. Of course it would. Blinking is about 150 milliseconds on average. This keyboard is so fast, it would allow you to push, release, and push the same key every 2 milliseconds, and it would always register. Can I put this to the test? Unfortunately, I can't. Only the Flash can, and he's unreachable. Next is Razer Snap Tap, which takes that strafing to a whole other level. How much of an other level, you ask? Well, so much so that it's banned in many esports competition. An image is worth 1,000 words, and so here we go. This is the behavior that pushing A and D would cause. Snap Tap does this. Then you have options such as prioritizing left or right, or my favorite, compare level. Because as we mentioned a moment ago, optical switches understand at 0.1 millimeter precision how deep your key is pushed. And so it will compare both your A and D and give priority to the key that is pushed lower than the previous one is. And why is that useful? Well, if you're finger dancing on your keys, it'll basically have you actuate right in the middle of letting go of the previous key. This way you never miss a beat by occasionally pushing both keys at once. And while on topic of snap tap, let's have a quick overview of the software. And that is also one we'll fly through. You have a game mode to prevent accidental keys that you don't want. You also have Windows properties specifically for Lightning. This is a new feature in Windows 11. I tend not to use it, but it's there if you want. You have your pulling rate that you can adjust, switch dead zones. You have a gamepad settings where you can use your keys to mimic what an analog stick would do. At first, I thought it was cool. After the fact, honestly, it's a feature I don't really use, but it's cool that it's there. When it comes to actuation, you have the snap tap feature that we just talked about. You can address the depth of the actuation point. Rapid trigger we also talked about, and you can do that for all your keys, but you can also address per key in the software. And then of course you have RGB where you can address the brightness. You also have a bunch of different modes that you can do here. And last, everything that you're seeing here can be addressed through the app, but it can also be saved on board for memory. You also have a factory default, but you have 4 different profiles that you can create. And then you can also export and import your different profiles. And also, while you cannot do exactly every single thing in the software, you have pretty extensive options that you can do on the keyboard, such as changing the depth of the actuation, deactivating certain features such as snap tap with a quick shortcut, etc. For those who like to run light on software, Synapse is optional with the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K as your settings are saved on board. And when talking about the body of the keyboard, you have double shot PBT keycaps. They have a little bit of a super duper slight grittiness to them, quite pleasant, and they won't fade. You'll also find an Xbox home button and a multimedia play, pause, next and previous track button by doing 1 tap, 2 tap, or 3 taps respectively. These can also be customized in the app if you prefer something else. And lastly, you have a small panel that gives you visual indicators for things such as caps lock or also how much you press any individual key. Pretty neat. That same little screen will also help the navigation of some shortcut settings I mentioned a moment ago. Now, in terms of feel, Razer clearly knows how to make keyboards. It feels amazing. The chassis is aluminum with internal dampening foam that cuts the hollow ping that keyboards sometimes have. The sound is quite satisfying and with little to no vibration noise. Here's a recording. The keyboard also comes with a magnetic leatherette wrist rest, which according to Razer got slightly firmer for better support, and the detachable USB-C cable is also standard. So yeah, it's built like a tank, a very fast RGB lit tank. And lastly is RGB. It's still Razer Chroma, and much like actuations per key, you can also address RGB per key for complete customization. Synapse remains optional, as we mentioned, but the per key RGB will require the software. Still, you can do some quick adjusts from presets using keyboard shortcuts with the FN key. So what is it really like while playing games? Well, between rapid trigger, snap tap, and specifically the 8000 Hz pulling rate, in my humble opinion, it's as much an absolute overkill of a keyboard as it is trading some extra cash for that priceless peace of mind. Allow me to make myself very clear. This keyboard is as sharp and precise as one of those fancy Japanese knives that costs multiple thousands. But much like those knives, it makes that much sense in the hands of a pro. Just as in the kitchen, I'm no esports pro, but I do like the thought of having tools that make room for growth, experience, and evolution. And if you're still watching this video, I believe you do too. And so the big question is, do I recommend it? If you own the previous model, despite not having tested that one, my answer would be no. Because the reasons why you bought the Huntsman non-8K is for that exact same peace of mind. And let me put you at peace, That jump by 6,000 hertz will not make anything other than FOMO be better. Realistically, it's the same keyboard. But if you're looking to replace your old mechanical keyboard, or you went Hall effect and you're ready for a serious upgrade, look no further. You found your end game solution in the Huntsman 8K, simple as that. And what is that going to cost? Well, 220 USD for the TKL and 250 for the full-size version. Not cheap, but you're paying for elite performance. And if you like to pay for elite aesthetics, they also have a Razer.com exclusive Razer green version, as well as a white model. Those two will run you a bit higher in price. And by the time you see this video, it's already launched, so it's ready to be picked up if you want to buy one. In a nutshell, Razer is saying, here's our endgame keyboard if you want one. And so I'll close with this. Don't ask me why a shovel that costs 100 USD is better than the one that's 20 bucks. I'm not that guy. But some people are. Some people understand the value between spending more once versus spending a little many times because they can't tell a good stuff from the best stuff. And yeah, I am that exact person when it comes to shovels. But when it comes to gaming tech, I may not be a pro player, but I know the topic at hand, pun intended. This keyboard is worth its asking price because it manages to define what we know possible of gaming hardware. And for that reason, if you're the person that understands what this fully means and why you want it in your life, then that's the keyboard for you. And that's that. And that's where I hopefully won't bid you farewell. And to make sure that we don't, hit that like button and subscribe to not miss any future gaming tech videos I make. And if you have questions, put them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer when I get a minute. Thanks for clicking on the video, and to Razer for sending my new daily driver keyboard for the foreseeable future, or maybe until we get a Huntsman 16K. I'm Clef. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.